The meaning of the space. Siefeng. The locations where the matters and antimatters are and their movement scope are called the space. The space is decided by the material existence and distribution. The negative space is determined by the non-material existence and distribution. There will be no space without the materials. And there will be no negative space without the non-materials. The space includes absolute and relative spaces. The absolute space refers to the space that can expand unlimitedly. The relative space refers to the space between an object and the surrounding objects. The spaces are everywhere all the time. There is space between the galaxies and between the atoms. The space also includes the negative and positive spaces. The space where the materials exist is called the positive space. The space where the non-materials exist is called the negative space. The human bodies exist in the positive space while the spiritual bodies exist in the negative space. The positive space twists, swells, contracts or disappears with the size of the object's mass, energy and forms. It is a relatively stable space. The negative space changes abruptly and has limitless changes in a short while. The space can change the forms and movement laws of objects. The different spaces decide the different movement laws and forms of the objects. For instance, the figure of the people living in the frigid zones is different from that of those living the tropical environment. The urban people have different looks from those living in the rural areas, the fishermen and the shepherds. The growth model, blossoming and fruiting timing of the grass in the deserts are different from those living the forest or highlands. The monkeys in the scenic areas have different capability of survival from those living in the forests. The men who get along with women for a long time have different tempers and personality with those staying longer with the other men. The mentality and behavior between businessmen and priests are different. The people working in the temples have different thinking from those working for the government. The space change can arouse the people's change in physical function, thinking ways, and mentality. The disease contracted in the cold and moist regions will get cured automatically in the warm and dry zones. The disease contracted in cities will get cured in the rural areas. The people having average performance will achieve great success when transferred to another place. The low-rank government official might make a great deal of money if doing business. The space change often leads to the change of situations. If one wants to change his life, he has to change the activity space. Otherwise he will die without any change or progress. The space is changing. It can be expanded, compressed, or twisted. When the mass of one object is equal to that of another object, the space between them is in linear arrangement. When they are not equal, the space between them will be expanded, compressed, twisted, and arranged in the form of an umbrella or rotation. When the mass of an object, we can call it the energy, is bigger than the total of the surrounding object's mass, energy, the space between them is the linear stable space and the object is the mass center of the space. For the small mass objects, the space distance between the small mass objects and this big quality, high energy, object is expanded. However, for the high energy object, the space distance has been compressed. Contrary to the negative space, the big mass object, the space between the big mass object and the small mass objects has been expanded. For the small mass objects has been compressed. So for the genuine Christians' followers, Yahweh and Jesus just stay beside them, influencing their words and behaviors at all times. For Yahweh and Jesus, the Christians are staying distantly and the non-Christians even farther. The Muslims and Allah Muhammad, the Buddhists and Sakyamuni, the Taoists and Original Heaven Lord and Lao Tzu have the same space relationship. A bosom friend afar brings a distant land near. The space distance of thousands of km has been compressed into the wall-like distance. This is for the low-energy people only. For the high-energy people, even if you are standing in front of him, he feels you are far away at the other end of the world. This is why the people with the highest energy feel the loneliest. Even if they are standing in a chaotic market, they feel isolated and mournful.